Lloyd Ephraim Alexander, born 1902, couldn't find any sources on his death year or whether he's still alive. African American embryologist. Lloyd Alexander has enjoyed two careers in his lifetime. He was an eminent scientist in the early part of this century, doing extensive research in the developing discipline of embryology. Later, as an educator, he was able to share his research knowledge and techniques with hundreds of students at various universities. Alexander, the youngest of 12 children, was born in a log cabin near the Appalachian mountain town of Catawba, Virginia, about 15 miles northwest of Roanoke. His family was poor, so Alexander was often required to gather wild fruits for the dinner table. He then sold whatever was left over at the market in nearby Catawba. Alexander enjoyed working on the land because it gave him the chance to explore and discover the wonders of nature. Living in the country sparked his interest in the native plants and animals. Both of Alexander's parents died when he was only 14, and he had to move to the home of one of his brothers in Landgraf, West Virginia. At Kimball High School, Alexander demonstrated early on that he was an exceptional student. His superiority was noticed by the principal of the school. The curriculum at Kimball was not able to challenge Alexander, so the school principal contacted friends and colleagues across the state to inquire about institutions that could offer Alexander the education he deserved. A short time later, Alexander enrolled at the Bluefield Institute, a college preparatory school for African Americans. Alexander excelled in school despite working two jobs, one at Bluefield to earn his room, board, and tuition, and the other at various jobs in town. To no one's surprise, he had an affinity for biology, and he graduated with honors from Bluefield, as well as having the honor of being the first member of his family to earn a high school diploma. Alexander's education was just getting started, though. He was accepted into the University of Michigan, but was unable to go immediately since he had very little money. He stayed in Bluefield and worked for 3 years, earning enough money to begin his college career in 1923. He received his bachelor's degree in 1927 and was invited to continue at Michigan for graduate studies on the strength of his undergraduate work. He earned his master's degree in just 1 year. After finishing college, Alexander once again had no money, so he moved back to West Virginia and took a job teaching classes in high school science and biology. Again, his excellent work did not go unnoticed. After 2 years, he accepted a position as an instructor at Fisk College in Nashville, Tennessee. During the 1930s, the Rockefeller Foundation established a goal to improve the state of biological research in the United States. The General Education Board, a division of the foundation that extended financial support to African Americans, offered a fellowship to Alexander that paid for his doctoral program. Alexander began his doctoral work at the University of Chicago under the supervision of preeminent embryologist B.H. Willier. The subject of Willier's research was the development of chicken embryos. Alexander further refined Willier's research and focused much of his work on the formation of the embryonic eye. Since the eye of a chicken develops from early brain tissue, learning about the eye's development would answer questions about the development of the brain. Alexander also experimented with what happens when tissue from other parts of the chicken embryo is introduced into eye tissue. The effect that the eye tissue has on the introduced tissue is called induction. The research team moved to the University of Rochester, New York in 1933, and Alexander was awarded his doctorate in embryology in 1936. His research lasted a lifetime, though, and Alexander was considered an expert on grafting and transplanting tissues in vertebrates. Grafting and transplanting tissues in vertebrates. All throughout Alexander's grafting and transplanting tissues in vertebrates, vertebrates. All throughout Alexander's doctoral work, he was able to continue his teaching position at Fisk University. Because he was one of their best and brightest instructors, Fisk's administrators allowed him to commute between Nashville, where the university was located, and Chicago or Rochester when necessary. During Alexander's 19-year tenure at Fisk, he trained numerous educators, scientists, and medical doctors. He also served his country in World War II as an instructor at Meharry Medical College, training doctors to help alleviate the critical shortages of medical personnel serving in the war. In 1949, Alexander accepted a position as a biology instructor at Kentucky State College, where one of his major projects was creating science education curricula. His program was eventually used across the United States and the world. When his instructional material was introduced in Egypt, King Farouk I donated a 900-specimen butterfly collection to the university in gratitude. Alexander incorporated this treasure in his classes to demonstrate the classification system used by biologists as well as certain theories of evolution. Alexander was chairman of the biology department at Kentucky State for 23 years until his retirement in 1972. Alexander was married to Evelyn Baker in 1934 in Rochester, New York, shortly after his doctoral team moved from Chicago. They had 2 sons, but his wife passed away at a young age. He married his second wife in 1952 in Louisville, Kentucky, and together they had a son and a daughter. Lloyd Alexander's undergraduate and graduate work at Michigan and Fisk University set the stage for his achievements as an embryologist, researcher, and educator. The biology department at Kentucky State College, where he still serves as a professor emeritus, holds an annual Lloyd E. Alexander Day in recognition of his achievements, the science, and the university. The students of the biology department use this event to showcase their current research projects. Citations and sources of this audio are in the description.